in time, we launched to multiple networks live at the same time. So hey, folks, we're not live everywhere yet. So what happens is when we click this on YouTube, usually I'll pick it up. My recording software will pick it up next, and then as I click that button, that takes us live on Facebook right now.
Yeah,
so,
and the good news is, if you're not watching, you'll never see this part.
There we go. Well, they will on Facebook now, because here we are, folks. Mark here with some guests. I'm going to let Mark do all the introductions, but we're live here on Facebook, YouTube, and this is our Custom Apparel Startups podcast. As you've hopefully know by now, if you've listened to the past few episodes, we're going to be doing live, and I think this is going to be one of the last few unscheduled lives. So we're getting ready to have a full schedule that we'll be publishing on the times and dates and all that stuff. So Mark, take it away to the introduction of the podcast.
You got it. Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 71 of the Custom Apparel Startups podcast. My name is Mark Stevenson from ColDesi.
And Mark Vila from Coleman & Company.
And today we have two special guests. If you have not seen the announcements that's been on the Belkette.com website and on ColDesi websites and everywhere else on the internet verse, ColDesi has joined forces with a company that is just across the bay from us called Belkette. And who you're looking at right now are the two founders of Belkette, Brett Wiebel and Mark Momborquette, sorry. And I would just publicly, first, I want to thank Brett for not being named Mark. I really appreciate that, because now there are three of us on the podcast.
Wait.
Although we get mixed up a lot.
Do you really? Okay.
I just figured out what
Belkette meant.
No, that's not good.
I just figured out what Belkette meant.
There you
just
go.
this
The
exact
two
moment.
things combined.
Yes. I was trying to figure out what that meant in French or something.
So these guys are here with us today, not just because I wanted everyone to meet the new part of the ColDesi family. It's because these guys are a small business success story. I mean, they've been in the direct-to-garment printer industry since there was one, and they've been principal in introducing some new technologies and in growing not just their own business, Belkette, which has a great reputation, but their customers' business as well. So what I'd like to do next, if it's okay with you, Mark Vila, and I'm going to be saying your last name a lot today for some reason.
I will. I'll tell you if it's okay after you say what it is.
Okay. What I'd like to do is kind of get you guys to introduce yourselves and what Belkette is. So you can talk about the history a little bit from a small business perspective, because a lot of our listeners, or hopefully all of our listeners, are somewhere in the beginning stage of starting their own business. And they want to do t-shirts, or they want to do embroidery. We've even got some people that are doing like awards and engraving now from the UV printers, our customers. And you've done a lot of things and got a really interesting story. So I'd like you guys just to tell us that.
Sure.
We'll go back and forth here. We started
What's your
the
name?
business, and I'm the Ket side of the.
Okay.
This is the Bell.
Cabby the Bell.
And
Belkette.
Belkette.
And,
our last names. Yeah.
We really started this back in 96. Was it 96 the inception of the Imagine?
Yeah, 1996. Yeah.
And
that was when it was.
our DNA is about making better tools for the industry. No matter what the industry, we just seem to we're wired that way.
Using innovation. We're an innovation company.
Using technology, using whatever is available to us at the time to make something more efficient is what we've always done. So back in '96, at that point my daughter is pretty young, 10 years old, and I saw her get her nails done in a mall using airbrush technique with a stencil commonly used in these salons. And she had a Mickey Mouse put on her nail. And it was a two-part spray function, and she moved a little bit. It came off after 20 minutes or so. Walked out, and she was the happiest in the world, that she just loved this little image on her nail.
Right.
And on the way, I thought to myself,
how much did that cost?
That was like $10 for one image on the
Mickey
nail.
Mouse.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was all worth it. It's just that I looked at the procedure and thought that that was the most ridiculous thing. well, how can they be making money doing that? Because it took a long time. So I thought, wouldn't it be better just to inkjet that on, and you could get really repeatable results? And so later, maybe it was the next day, I approached Brett with, I got this idea, and it was like, okay. Well, we started working on this after hours for several, how many years was that?
About 3 years.
3 years.
We were working together at a manufacturing facility in Cincinnati.
Right.
And every minute after...
Why is there always an Ohio connection in direct garment? I don't know what it is.
Yeah, the heartland of the country.
Okay.
So, but yeah.
So we started using commercial printers, ripping them apart, and finding a platform that would work. And we developed our own coatings. We developed a patent around it, and made a commercial product that was sold around the world in salons. And later on, maybe we'll pan over and look at the first machine and the challenge about printing on a human subject and a fingernail has to be the most difficult thing we've ever done. But it made printing on static objects like T-shirts and tiles and canvas kind of
pretty simple.
Yeah, straightforward. It didn't move.
So
it didn't move.
that,
it didn't change.
That story explains the painting behind us. Because normally when you see us, we're in our Dale Mabry campus over in Tampa. We're across the bay at Belkette headquarters, and that is a promotional photo.
Yes.
For the nail process, because you guys have distributors all over the world, and this was actually a commercial product that you developed and brought to market.
Yeah, so one of the things that we built this tool, and it was sold around the world in salons, small shops, and after that time, kind of being not an artist, but I like doing art on as a hobby, and I wanted to do these large images on canvas, but I realized that it's very difficult to buy the equipment, a roll-to-roll printer, and then trying to stretch canvas around a frame. So being the innovators we are, we just developed a flatbed printer that would print directly on this canvas. So around our office, we have large canvas images like this that was printed right directly on a pre-stretched canvas that we just buy and put the canvas down. And that was our first flatbed printer. And so it was something that was built to and I sold these. It was a small business.
Yeah.
Our first flatbed was the Maginell.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
But this would be the second one.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. So, I mean, I think one thing so far that you'll see is kind of maybe that what is like your story out there is you've got a full-time job, and you get inspired about something. In Mark's case, it was the experience with his daughter at the mall, getting the nails done. Maybe for you it was, spending $45 for a cheer jacket, or it was having a great idea for some kind of an embroidered good, or you saw something on Etsy, or you went to a family reunion and the shirts were terrible, and you decided that you could do it better. The difference here is that we have some engineering and design talent here. So one thing you'll never meet, other than right now, is somebody in the direct-to-garment printer business that ever actually designed something. Right? So those guys they're not here. Right. They're working at really large corporations, they're working overseas. Nobody that has started from scratch with an idea to manufacture something and carried it all the way through. So that same kind of look at everything that Mark just described is what they're bringing to the ColDesi team.
Yeah, and
right?
and when and the folks who listen, especially our regular listeners, but people who might be brand new listening to this podcast, because we had new folks every time. So the purpose, I think, of all of this, the reason why these gentlemen are here, the reason why we're alive and doing all this is because if you are currently a small business entrepreneur, or it's just a dream, or you're not making it, or you're not at the level that you want to be, you should be one of those things. Is you've got to listen to stories like this and realize that that is you as well. You are the same person. You can do the same thing these guys did. Not invent a printer, because maybe you're not an engineer, But if you have opportunity to sell t-shirts, if you're connected within your business, if you just love art and you want to be able to put them onto t-shirts, then like you've got to do it and you've got to make it a success. It's not just going to happen for you because you thought of the idea and you went ahead and you purchased a printer, or you decided to just buy a vinyl cutter and just told your friends about it.
Right.
Like, do something, work hard, work after hours, put in the time, think of ideas, look for inspiration.
Yeah.
You know, and then when you have an idea that's inspiration, like the nail idea, bounce it off somebody who you trust. I had this idea for how I can sell some more shirts. I'm going to do this. And find some trusted advisors that you can tell that to, and find somebody who might be willing to help you do it as well. So like these are all things of stories that of how you know your story can help make other people successful in this apparel decorating industry and the custom apparel business, and it's awesome.
Yeah. Now, there's it wasn't just develop a fingernail machine and then we're off and running and working full time for Belkete. It didn't work that way. There was a number of years, 6 years, before either of us went full time with Belkete. It was always after hour projects. The fingernail, Imaginail started it, but then we printed on inflated footballs. We printed on switch plates. We developed machines for all these different inkjet applications, and at some point we printed on T-shirts. All right, and when we first developed the initial T-shirt printing machine, which for us was FlexiJet, we were both full-time with Belkete. So don't be afraid to work on the weekends for an extended period of time to realize your dream.
Yeah.
You have to have a lot of failures before that's but just persistence prevails, and we kept at it and made many iterations of our first generation machine and a lot of things in between.
Yeah. Actually, the first generation Imaginail machines, we couldn't get someone to try. So Mark and I were walking around with colored nails for a number of years, and all our coworkers and
Their
family,
hands in pocket most of the time.
we walk around with our hands in our pockets for the first 3 years until we had a machine that someone was comfortable putting there. But we had to test the product. We
And
had to
the
know
coatings.
how it was going to last on fingernails.
Yeah,
Think about how much easier. Think about the difference. Like if you're not willing, these guys were willing to walk around with painted nails for years. You have to be willing to wear the stuff that you print. You
Yeah,
know what I
right,
mean?
right.
Like put on
Yeah,
a
don't be
T-shirt for
afraid.
God's sake.
It's a-
Don't be afraid to make a
Quite
mistake.
a full commitment.
Yeah, that is
Yes.
that is a
You know, when you
commitment.
believe in something, you're motivated.
Actually,
yeah.
the
It
first,
inspires.
this is funny, the first image we ever printed on a fingernail, inkjetted, was Mark's face, just his mug with his smile leaning to one side. And we printed it on his fingernail, and I think he wore it for a
I
number
rubbed
of
it off
days.
fairly quickly.
Oh, that's great.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
So,
Mistake.
so when somebody this is what happens all the time, and I know you guys have dealt with it with Belkete, ink and machine buyers, and we deal with it with all of our customers. Is you've got somebody who gets into the business, and you're listening right now. You're into the business, and you're frustrated because you've not made a ton of money yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you thought you were going to get this one customer, and you didn't. And then you thought then you got a big customer, and you weren't making any money from them. And then you got, and then all of these little failures happen.
Yeah.
But like that's actually what is part of like really making a successful business is having like you miss this, this one's a huge win. You miss this, this one's a win, and you keep moving forward on that. You change with the times. And so do that.
Yeah.
Like that, and that's I think like that if beyond just the knowledge of the joining forces, the takeaway on all of this is for on this podcast, for me at least, for me to you, I like to give homework on all these podcasts. But what I want you to do is if you're not where you are with your business, then you need to write down a bunch of different plans, ideas, thoughts, how you're going to sell, how you're going to market, who you're going to talk to. Go back and listen to the other 60 plus podcasts, find some ideas, and then try them. And then when you fail on 2 of them and succeed on 1, then replicate that.
Yeah. Here's kind
do
of
it,
the
you know?
here's kind of the example that I would take away from what you were just talking about, and going through like all these iterations of equipment that doesn't work the way you want it to, and just fails outright. Is we get posts in the Custom Apparel Startups Facebook group all the time. It says I printed on all these shirts and I put them in the wash. Customers are bringing them back because they came apart. The print didn't last, or you're doing embroidery and the customer realized that it was the wrong color in the design, or you're doing vinyl and it peels, or something doesn't work right. I mean, just look at that as not the huge disaster that it is, but as a step that you're going to have to go through. You have to learn these lessons. We try to prepare you as much as possible. These are the shirts you should use. This is what you should look for. This is how you should price your work. But you're gonna get these mistakes, and they may not be because you did anything wrong. Just you haven't perfected it yet. Yeah. So you've got to be ready, and maybe think a little bit about what you're going to do when that happens. So if you are the one person that has been in the business for over 3 months and haven't screwed something up royally, whether it's your fault or not, then sit down and figure out what you're going to do when that happens, so you're not panicking. So what are you going to do when you've got an order due out in 2 days and the company you're buying blanks from ran out of that shirt? Or what are you going to do when the color comes in wrong? Or what are you going to do when the customer changes their mind or doesn't pay you? I don't know what the answer to any of those things are, but you should know, because you're going to fail before you move through to big success.
Yes, it's solutions, not excuses.
Yeah.
As always. And I run things with Coleman and Company.
Yeah.
I help to make sure websites are working well, marketing is going right, and we've got happy customers.
Yes.
And every day there's a problem with something, and some people will walk into my office and freaked out. And I said, "Oh, we'll fix it."
Yeah.
How?
I don't know yet.
Don't ask me that
Yeah.
question, because you just told me the problem.
Right.
But I'll tell you this: we will,
Yeah.
and then I'll let you know when it's fixed, and then move on.
And there's like almost 5,000 products on the Coleman and Company site.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I
over 5,000
guarantee
SKUs.
something's broken right now. I guarantee it.
Thanks
So
for,
your next
thanks for
test,
reminding me.
Your next test is to go through every product and look to see if something's wrong. But so you had said the last thing that you did was kind of build the flatbed printer, and you were talking about doing T-shirts, right? So
Right.
You'd figure that out. How did that translate into Belkete becoming a company and coming out with its first printer?
Well, one thing we learned from the fingernail experience was the print area was really, really small, and the substrate is hard, so it doesn't take up a lot of ink. And
Right.
so the Imaginale didn't really go through much consumable in the amount of years.
Let me just interject. A substrate is whatever you're printing on. So it can be a T-shirt or a canvas or whatever it is, a fingernail. If whatever you're printing on is a substrate.
Yeah. So we're looking around at other graphics opportunities where inkjet could fit nicely in. And at that point, it was late 90s. There was no one really commercially inkjetting directly onto T-shirts at that time.
Really, I think there was one machine. Mamaki came out with a very large machine, very expensive, very heavy, and I don't think it had white ink in it.
Okay.
Man, they were bleaching the shirts.
That's right. Discharge.
Discharge.
Oh yeah,
They were-
yeah.
Remember
I remember that.
Which
Yep.
is kind of a nasty
Chemistry.
fluid
Yeah.
to touch or to run through a print head. But that's how they were doing it, and it was kind of a grayish sort of, not white.
Right.
So white became a challenge, and we to keep it suspended, to keep it from clogging, and so we spent a lot of time on coming up with solutions that would avoid the problems plagued with white ink in the early days.
Right.
And, we've had come a long ways with that, and made our own had our own solutions in house, because there was really nothing available. You had to just invent ways to keep.
But the,
So if somebody wanted to go into the custom T-shirt business,
Yes.
they were not doing inkjet. They weren't doing direct-to-garment printing at all.
No.
You were a screen printer,
Right.
basically, right?
Right. Right.
or you were tie-dyeing shirts or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the transition was first off to realize some of the failure points of the business of Imagine, not that it was a failure, it was a good success, but we had licensed our intellectual property to a company in Tampa,
Yep.
and that's what brought us down to Florida.
Okay.
All right, with Imaginal,
Yep.
and so they had built the company, and we were consultants. We weren't running the company, but we were integral in starting it, and we were there day to day.
Yeah.
And so we were looking at other opportunities because this one was
Done.
done. This was
Yeah,
up
yeah,
and
you
running.
kinda-
Someone else was running it.
Right.
But, you know, what next type scenario. And the interim was direct to canvas,
Right.
DTC.
I love
Okay.
that.
There
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
DTC. We were,
Yeah.
but we
Large
were
flatbed.
producing the end product, right? Selling them to artists and photographers and things
Yeah,
like
we
that.
had local museums that would give us art, and we would produce pieces because we could do one-offs, and that's the beauty about anything digital. It was
Yeah.
about doing unique pieces, one-off, but very high quality. So the artist demanded giclée. It's a word that they
was just
use
gonna say
for
that, yeah.
fine art.
If you're fancy, you're
If
using
you're
giclée,
fancy,
yeah.
you know, put a French name around something, and it's worth more.
Yeah.
Oh, is that
So yeah.
Mr. Momborquette.
Says the art, yeah.
Oh,
Says,
yeah, right,
says the
right.
fancy name and the artist and the
I
whole
like
thing.
it, though.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
French Canadian,
So
yeah.
produced a lot of pieces for local art galleries, and then we decided that this direct-to-garment thing seemed very interesting. We felt that this was a direction that we thought would take off, and it has. We feel that you know, we're going from any analog technology. It's like going from a film camera to digital camera.
Yeah.
People are very resistant. There will be nothing as good as film. Film has, you know, infinite resolution.
Yeah.
But now, I don't think you can.
No, you
buy-
can, it's a
buy-
challenge to develop film.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
but- yeah, and purchase a camera. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
you have to get it online first. You can't find a store. You know,
It took
and
many years to transition, and now it's really not talked about. And so, screen printing is still an analog technology. It's still used. It still will be used for quite a while, but there is a transition moving into digital. And as the chemistries get better, it's going to open up the substrates that can
And
be
the
printed
equipment,
on.
chemistries and
And
equipment.
equipment.
Yeah.
And this is where our focus
Yeah.
lies, is
Our
the
expertise as well.
equipment to be able to do that. It hasn't been invented yet.
Right.
To do things maybe in a smaller format, to look at some of the specific problems that plague what's currently available, and that's where our focus is. And it's just naturally
Yeah.
it's what we do, and we're very excited to
To
be
keep doing that.
part of
That's awesome.
Yeah.
this team that will allow us to focus on the things that we're really ingrained to do,
yeah.
Yeah.
and not have to be in the marketing,
Yeah,
sure.
and the other things that could be distracting to focusing on our
On
core,
making
stuff.
where our core is.
We
Yeah.
get to
Well,
share those responsibilities, and that's huge.
It's fantastic, and I'm a great idea guy, so here it is. All right,
Yes.
so you guys are good engineers, you can do this. You build like a time machine within the DTG, and then you can print you can print faster than a screen printer ever could.
Just to think about it.
So do that.
Don't do that.
I don't have any of the solutions on how, but that's your expertise. not
That's the
mine.
way people think about marketing too.
Yeah, right.
So you know what you should do?
Yes.
You should take a 3D picture of this and put it on the website, and you know.
It's about you have to coming up with ideas that feed us. It's ironic since we've joined forces, and this has been a progressional thing over
Yeah.
a while. Just talking to the folks about and watching some of the steps that you need to go through for different areas of applying whether it be a transfer, whether it be direct to garment, whether we already have some new innovations in the works just from the feedback from your own team
Yeah.
that we've looked at and go, wow, you know what, that is a problem Let's fix that.
So talk about that, because you've got some.
Very
We're in the Belkette kind of showroom, and there are some innovative products in this room. So I just want you to talk about for a second, like what that process looks like. I'm looking at the tea treater, which is a completely unique kind of pre-treat machine.
Yeah.
So walk us through kind of problem solution there, because I find that really an interesting.
The tea
approach.
treater, yeah. So it wasn't the first pre-treat machine for direct-to-garment on the market,
Right.
right? But the machines that were on the market, and before that, people were just using a paint sprayer
Yeah.
and spraying shirts.
Yep.
They all, paint sprayer coated your environment with this nasty pre-treat. It rusted everything around. It stuck to everything.
Yeah.
And so the early pre-treated machines, and even the current pre-treat machines, were in an enclosure. And your shirt went in. Sometimes the shirt sleeve got stuck in the mechanical device going in and out. They were trying to contain that overspray. So that was one of the things that we wanted to address. Well, let's build a machine that doesn't have overspray, that 100% of the pre-treat went onto the garment. There was no waste.
Right.
So that was the first thing, the first box we checked. Then we said, well, talking about waste, if you have a graphic that's this size, but you're pre-treating this size, well, there's this waste here.
Yeah.
So we said, what if we target the general area? So we did a targeted system, second checkbox. And there was a number of other things, small, compact. And so we came up with a process that does targeting pre-treat with no overspray. Everything goes into the shirt. Has a good feel, has touchscreen display. It's easy to load, mount, easy to swap
Right.
platens out.
So I want you guys out there that are watching or listening to kind of think about that process that Brett just outlined. So like, what is it in your business, or what are the opportunities? I mean, they looked at a couple of ways to accomplish something, and looked at what was broken about it and what was messy about it, and spent the time to fix it, to come up with some good alternative solutions. So that's everywhere in your business too, and you can talk about that with the people that you interact with. So we talk about going after whales occasionally in these podcasts, where you're a small embroiderer, you're a small t-shirt printer, and you're trying to figure out a way to get into the University of South Florida, or you're trying to figure out a way to get into the electric company, or somebody big that you really want to go after. Is when you're sitting down, or when you're in front of those people, is have them explain their problems to you. Because you can't follow them around their business and see what the problems are. But if you can ask them the questions like, so what's the worst thing? What don't you like about when you order something? Or what, tell me about your job and what bothers you. So, well, I'm in purchasing and I order caps from one place, I order shirts from the other place, I order uniforms for our janitorial staff from another place. So I've got to manage like 8 vendors. How can you simplify that? How can you take this messy sprayer for pre-treat and at least put it in a box, so it doesn't get everywhere, and you can do it, inside your office? And it's that, not necessarily you're going to invent something, but listening to how this thought process works and applying it to what you're doing is a win. That's what you're listening to the podcast now, because you want your business to be better.
Yeah.
Right? So you're already ahead of the game. Just take that next step and apply this kind of problem-solving approach to whatever you're doing in your business.
Yeah, and it's how you're going to win new customers is exactly that, because you started to mention that example about asking them, but when you're talking to, what you should be doing if you're listening to our podcast is you're attending community events, you're a member of local small business agencies, you go to networking meetings, you go to wherever you go to events, you meet people, you talk to people, you're on the phone talking. But when you run into somebody, oftentimes, especially if they're in business and they make shirts already, they have somebody that they work with. So you say, okay, and you can, whatever approach you want. If you're aggressive, say, I want your business. What do I have to do?
Right.
But not everyone's as aggressive as a salesperson as that, especially because people in the direct-to-garment and t-shirt printing and embroidery business, they're often more of the lines of they're technician style people. They're artists.
Yeah.
They like
One or the
making
other.
things. They're not always the aggressive salesperson. So use that as your approach. Okay, I'm trying to improve my business. I'm trying to grow, and I want to do something better. Tell me like 2 or 3 things that you don't like about who you do business with, and they'll tell you what you can do to sell them.
Yeah.
So they'll tell you right then and there. So what do you do is maybe you don't have a way to do that yet. Oh, I wish I could order this way online, or I wish there was an easier way for my team to try on shirts and get the right sizing. So what if you come up with a solution for that? And then you come back to them, or and you say, hey, you mentioned to me, I want to thank you because you gave me a great idea, because you told me that finding sizes for t-shirts for all your staff was always an issue, especially just season to season.
Yeah.
Weights change, styles change, all of this. So I thought of a way where I come and I bring to my customers like a whole set of options, and I give them like good, better, best, and I bring sizes from extra small to 4X, and then I set up like a little mini fitting room. I bought a spray tan booth thing that I hang up. That's a shower curtain. I mean, whatever you think of, and I actually bring a fitting room to your office.
That's a great, very involved idea.
Yeah, but
I like that.
But it's and this is like, look for stuff like that. So ask for what the problem is. Start thinking of a solution, and then the next thing that it made me think about is, you might not be an amazing problem solver. Not everyone is. Right. Everyone has a strength. Some people are really fast at t-shirt production. I mean, they can sit there and they can just pop a shirt on a direct-to-garment printer and hit go, and they can do it. They're doing it so fast, and I'm just like, man, if I was doing it that fast, I'd never get it on straight. I'd always have wrinkles, but they're really good at that. However, they're not great at figuring out a new way to do that. They're great at implementing. So if you're not great at that problem solving, still find out what the problems are, or the problems you have are, and consult with someone anybody, and if you know an engineer, cool, that might be a solution, but it also just might be a friend of yours who builds a bunch of stuff in his garage.
Mark. Your vendors. Reach out to your vendors. People like
great.
ColDesi, Coleman and Company, because without interaction with our customers, we wouldn't know the problems to solve. So you, as a small business owner, you need to resolve problems, and but you don't have to be the sole source of how to figure them out.
That's great.
Get help.
I think that one of the things that we're all looking forward to incorporating more into ColDesi is, if you are a Belkette customer and you've got a Mod 1, or you've got any of the other direct-to-garment printers, it's almost like you found the Mod 1 because you're technically oriented, and you're kind of you're an advanced user, and you're looking for those unique problem-solving solutions that Belkette came up with. So I'm really looking forward to taking some of the best of what you guys have done with the Belkette line and applying it to future generations of what we do, not just in DTG but everything else. Right. So one of the first things it seems like that you guys did was just kind of we all wandered around the showroom at ColDesi, because ColDesi, we saw the DTG digital brand of direct-to-garment printers, which of course we still will. We sell the Pro Spangle machine, the Spider Mini pre-treat. We sell a CAMS automatic rhinestone machine. We sell a variety of different heat presses, and we just kind of walked around that room and found opportunities for improvement in almost everything that we touched. So that kind of approach, that taking a look at what's happening now and figuring out, well, like, why is it done that way? Why on a platen for a DTG printer, do you actually have to tuck the shirt underneath the mat like you do a sheet on a mattress?
Right.
You know, why do you have to do that? You know, why do you have to? Why are heat presses so heavy? Why does the spangle machine need oiled as frequently? Why did the cutter work? Why does the cutter work like this? We even brought a prototype cutter in to take a look at and just took it apart. You know, basically saw all the things that we would improve about it or change about it. And you know, at Coleman and Company and ColDesi beforehand, we would just say, you know, no, we can't sell this for the following reasons. You guys can try again if you want to and send us something new. You know, now part of the future of what we're going to do together is you guys get to look at that.
Right.
Like any of those opportunities, nothing specific was leaked, but any of those opportunities, and you know, say, oh, you know, this is really something that we can get behind.
Besides the time machine, and
The time machine
I did
idea,
leak out.
you did
I did
leak
leak
that.
I apologize,
Yeah.
But it won't
Leave the
matter
marketing
because we
up
can
to
go
you.
back.
they will go. They'll go back in time and erase it.
I guarantee we're going to get at least 3 people asking us about the new time machine.
Yeah, I can't wait. Please send all those inquiries to me. So I wanted to just kind of address the supplies and the Coleman and Company side of things here, because anytime that you're purchasing this ink that you know is really good, right? You continued and you purchased a lot for the ink technology in addition to the machine technology. So we're taking that onto the Coleman and Company site. The Belkette store is basically kind of within the site. All the same processes are being brought into the ink. We're taking technology that we have to be able to produce things faster and simpler.
Yeah.
You know, not the ink, but like, you know, maybe how we label it and how we box it and how we store it. You know,
Those efficiencies.
These efficiencies, because we've got over 5,000 SKUs in the store, so we're used to having so many SKUs.
Yes.
And we also have agents on the phone, on live chat, and on email that all they do all day is talk to folks about purchasing all their supplies.
Yeah.
So one of the coolest things that I just saw the other day is somebody ordered their bagged Belkette ink and their embroidery supplies at the same time.
Yeah, there you go.
So you're going to get to do things like that.
That's a first.
Yeah. And so you're going to get to buy other technologies, because people who do digital garment printing are also doing heat transfer vinyl because they want glitter, and they do embroidery because they want to do embroidered caps. So you're going to get to have more of those things. The Coleman and Company, one of the things we always do is we're always looking for a new product to solve a problem our customers are having.
Yeah.
And there's always something interesting and new being brought in. There's always something, there's always new product lines we're looking at, whether it's more colors of something. So as you've got the opportunity to shop for the same exact supplies you're going to get, literally your ink, bags, everything will be exactly the same. So you're going to get the same exact quality. But you're going to get the benefits of Coleman and Company, like our free shipping options and agents that are on the phone all the time. So if you email or call in, you know, 99% of the time you get somebody right then and there who's going to fix that problem right then and there, which is really cool. So I think it should be exciting for everybody.
Yeah, you get to order vinyl, you get to order embroidery supplies. You should look at the Coleman and Company site. If you're a Belkette customer, you should really spend some time on the Coleman and Company site. There's a lot of very cool stuff.
Yeah, look at some stuff, and if you want to, we've automated out everything. So some of you listening right now may have been in some special, like you had something special that you ordered from Belkette for whatever reason it is, you know? And if you did, then we've already programmed all that into the website, so that's available to you. So you log into your account and boom, it's right there. You don't have to pick up the phone and call or email an order or send a purchase order because you did something particularly special. We've programmed it into the website for you. So almost all of those are done. So if you haven't purchased yet, and you just log into your account online, we've already sent those emails out. If you happen to not get it, just give Belkette a call. They will send you over to the agent that's going to work with you, and we're going to take care of it. So it's going to be really cool. Our goal is to make sure that all of you just are more than 100% happy with the new stuff that you're going to get to have. And then also currently at this moment, and it doesn't mean that when you watch this a year later it's the same, but currently we have we've done some temporary price adjustments as you bundle up bags of ink, so you actually get a little bit of a better deal right now. So if your first order, if you spend $200 in your first order, you're probably going to save a little bit of money on ink and get free shipping.
Yeah.
So you've got an opportunity just right out of the gate for a little bit of happiness to just save some money right away. And that's kind of just one of the things we wanted to do for you in good faith, saying we're going to take care of you.
Right. So everyone from Belkete is, you know, that you've talked to in the past is now working at ColDesi and Coleman and Company. You guys though are participating, but you're also kind of I don't know if you're familiar with Belkette Printers. Even if you are familiar with Belkette Printers, you might not be familiar with the kind of industry consulting and product development that you guys have done in the past. Do you want to talk about those kinds of projects and what you're capable of and what you can do?
Sure, we'll talk about anything.
Yeah, okay.
So what's on your mind? You mean?
Well, you know, so we've talked about some of the things that you've done with
innovation from scratch.
Yeah, from scratch. Like, so a big company comes to you that's in the industry and says, we have this problem, you know, or they pick up the phone, somebody from, you know, Ford or whatever company it is picks up the phone and says,
yeah.
Right.
So yeah, we've had those calls.
Okay.
And
We like those calls.
Yeah,
Because it's a challenge. They're coming to us with an issue that they're looking for a real solution for.
Yeah.
And it gets us thinking and working together. And one maybe to backtrack on the Mod 1.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk too much about that. Well, why Mod 1? Well, one of the problems when Brett talked about the pre-treatment and spraying being not contained and getting all over the place, we addressed that. The next thing we saw was these digital printers were fairly large and difficult to ship, and when there was a problem, sometimes there was no choice but to have a technician go to the on-site to fix it or ship it back. To ship this printer back required a skid, a shipping company, where it's the original box, they might not have it. So we thought we need to break the jetting part out of the printer. Hence, the mod is short for modular.
Yeah.
And so we thought the platen mechanism and the frame is not the problem. It's the inkjet side of it. If there's going
that's
to be
what
a
needs
problem.
repair. Mostly that's what needs repair.
So we decided let's break that part out.
Yeah.
And it literally can be shipped overnight now, weighing only, what's the weight? 60 pounds, maybe.
Yeah, maybe that.
Very light. Two people can, a person
40,
can pick it
45
up.
pounds.
Yeah.
That's what it
45
is.
pounds.
Yeah.
Can pick it up and can ship this thing anywhere overnight. And that was one of the things we offered, that we could give them a new printer module, hence a brand new printer overnight. It's never been done before.
And that was 2007.
Yeah.
So back then, I mean, you've seen modularity work its way into the industry since. But 2007, they were all big floor-mounted machines and or tiny desktop, but still it was all encompassing and heavy.
Yeah.
This was much smaller package, easy to handle.
We had to make sure that this owner of one machine was never stuck for days on end when they had orders. It was so we needed to get be able to reassure a single owner that we can get them a new printer module, sent to them next day without a lot of hassle. They could even keep theirs and send it back to us when they had time. The most important thing, uptime for them. And so this was the reason for the mod, and it's just basically how we're wired to look at things that are out there. We watch, no matter what the application is, and try to figure out what's a better way to make that person, what they're doing, more efficient.
And actually the mod, we've worked with some of the largest fulfillment companies in the business.
Right.
And
you know their name.
Yeah.
You know their
I
name.
think probably the largest single installed DTG base in the world.
That was one of them, and a few others, and they were all had problems, manufacturing problems, logistic problems,
Right.
quality problems. The output wasn't exactly what they wanted.
Yes.
So on the Mod 1, we went into these companies, installed a number of them, but then worked with their engineering team to figure out, okay, the software needs to do this, or
The workflow is
workflow,
different
yeah.
here than over here.
Absolutely.
We watched
Absolutely.
the operators, how they
And
interacted with the.
so as a small company, there's a lot of massive companies now making inkjet printers overseas, but as a small engineering company, we could go in, sit down with the engineering team, sit down with the management teams,
Yeah.
hear what their issues are, work them out together, and that's the thing. It was always a combined effort. We
Yeah.
weren't just listening and coming back to them with this great contraption that fixed all their problems. It was always a solution where, what's your issue? Does this fit your bill?
Yeah.
Let's work together to figure it
And
out.
we would actually change the way our machine worked to suit their needs, and someone else would have a completely different set of needs, and we were able to address it because one box doesn't fit all.
Yeah.
And so it was an advantage we have, and we will continue that way, working with entities that need something a little different than what's currently available, and that's where our strength has been.
Yeah.
been
So
over the
if
years.
you're used to dealing with Belkette on that basis, if you are the CEO or the president or the head development guy for a company that's in this general industry, you're used to dealing with Belkette. That's what Mark and Brett are going to be focusing on. They're working definitely with ColDesi on a lot of development stuff, but Belkette Technologies is kind of going to go forward as this little think tank, that industry professionals can rely on to come up with independent solutions that are developed for them,
Absolutely.
by Belkette Technologies. So you guys kind of end up with the best of both worlds.
Right.
You still have like life in DTG,
Yeah.
and all that, but you also get these outside projects in that you're going to work on independently that you get to sink your teeth into.
Yeah, and focus.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
focus.
absolutely.
The focus is the coolest part. So when I do a little bit of like my story as far as like Coleman and Company, when I started working for Coleman and Company, I did a lot of things. So I was answering the phone, and I was helping to develop a team of folks that were a little more sales savvy, helping our customers basically pick the right products,
Yeah.
rather than just taking an order and then hanging it up and then realizing that the customer bought something that might not have been the most efficient thing for them. So I was doing that, answering the phone, and the focus was scattered. I would have this great idea and never be able to execute it.
Yeah.
Because I had to worry about a phone call. And then as we changed and we developed and grew, then I had the opportunity to focus on like the website and marketing and get it. And then then like when you live there, so as a business owner, a takeaway you could do from that is, right now you probably do everything, and we've done plenty of podcasts on this. Mark,
Yeah,
where we
absolutely.
talk about
It's so common.
if accounting is really not strong for you and you're not that great at it, I know it's going to cost you a little bit of money, but you can find a service out there that will help you get some of that accounting done. Take it off your plate.
Here's what I
you
can
know?
almost guarantee is that if you are a gifted t-shirt designer, right? Or a gifted engineer, you're probably not amazing at QuickBooks and invoicing. Like that's a rare combination. If you are a terrific salesperson and you can go out and knock on doors and get all kinds of business, in no way does that mean that the ideas that you come up with for custom t-shirts are any good at all, right? So if you're at the stage where you're a one-person shop, whether it's embroidery or DTG or whatever, you should re-listen to one of our early episodes on where we reviewed the E-Myth book.
Oh yeah.
You should listen to that whole pro-produce. You're not a t-shirt printer unless you work for someone that has a t-shirt printing business. You're a business owner that has a direct-to-garment printer or screen printer that does t-shirts. So you've got to look for those opportunities to hand things off.
Yep.
If you're not great at fulfillment, get somebody else to do it. If you're not great at accounting, find somebody to do your bookkeeping. Look for the opportunities. Maybe not now. I mean, like you guys have spent a career building up a great business,
Right.
and now just have got this opportunity to focus on what you really like to sink your teeth into. Maybe it'll work that way for you as well.
But
Yeah.
it started with just the two of us in Mark's basement.
Yeah.
In Cincinnati.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and grew, and at some point we said, oh boy, we have to go full time with this.
Yeah.
Right? It can't be a
Yeah.
side project anymore.
Yeah.
So, just persistence and
Yeah, persistent. And then, and when you are looking to outsource something, not that that's what we're doing here or talking about here, but I'm kind of going back to our customer for a moment
Yeah.
because you do the t-shirt, you do t-shirts, you do embroidery, whatever it is, and you're stuck because you do so much. And we have multiple episodes
Yeah.
where we've talked about that. And there's fear in the change in that. There's fear in saying if I move this piece, I potentially
I don't
could
want to let
knock-
it go. I
I
don't
could-
want to let it go.
Yeah, I could knock down my tower,
Yeah.
And as a small business owner, you've got to really think about that, and you've got to take some risks sometimes. And if you say, well, I would love to be able to have an accountant to do do all that for me, but I can't afford that.
Yeah.
And there's a problem for you that you need to search for a solution.
Yeah.
Is there a portion that you can take out that you could because it's almost you can't afford not to do it? And then also, what would you do with that time if you spend 3 hours a week doing bookkeeping and you're
What
not
else
very
could you
good
do?
at it? What else would you do with those 3 hours? Could you
Yeah.
sell more shirts?
Yeah.
Then at that point in time, the motivational entrepreneur would say, you can't afford not to do that.
Yeah.
now.
Right.
And I think that kind of sums things up for us, because what you've seen is kind of like both the inventor and entrepreneurial journey that Mark and Brett have gone through in developing Belkette printers and Belkette devices, and in working with other people in the industry on developing their own customized solutions, and this next kind of phase where product development and working on those bigger solutions is going to be the focus with Belkette Technologies.
Yep.
While still, of course, staying part of the ColDesi family as well. So I want to just close up by saying thank you to you guys for being on the podcast today.
Yeah.
Oh,
We don't
thanks
do
for
many.
your time.
We don't have many guests.
All right.
So
It's
it was-
normally forbidden.
Yeah, normally forbidden, and it was great.
So this isn't a weekly event for us.
No,
No.
sorry.
I think maybe the next time we'll talk, we'll be unveiling something
Absolutely,
Oh,
very
absolutely.
exciting and fun.
Yes,
And,
and
I
we
think
will-
everyone will be looking forward to what's coming around the corner.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
You should.
That's
So
awesome.
you
That'll
should.
be
Yeah.
that'll be our next.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
and I wouldn't be surprised if your thought behind that was first of many. So
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Okay, everybody,
Yeah.
thanks very much. This has been Mark Stevenson from ColDesi.
and Mark Vila from Coleman and Company, and guys, I need those admit one nails on and paint my glasses red. With
Maybe
the
next
printers.
time.
Okay,
So
okay.
I'm going to do that now.
It sounds like Mark
And
wants his
you
nails.
guys-
he wants his nails done.
Yeah, so I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, you guys have a good business.
Yeah. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you very much.
Talk to you later. Bye.